Hey, it's the puppets. Hey, Sue. What, Joss? I gotta tell you something. Ooh, is it gossip? Not exactly. It's about her. Well, don't look. Okay, what about her? I heard she's giving away sock puppets. Sock puppets? You mean us? Well, we're the only sock puppets she has. She's giving us away? Yeah. Are you giving us away? No, I'm not. But I am giving away sock puppets. But not us, right? No, not you. Oh, that's a relief. Yeah, let's go get some Starbucks. I need some Starbucks. Yeah, let's go. Hey, guess what? New giveaway. Sock puppets. I'll tell you all about it when we come back. Yes, that's right. We are giving away sock puppets. I got in touch with the woman who made my Joss and Sue sock puppets, and her store is Puppets by Margie. And it turns out that she happened to have a few extra Joss and Sue sock puppets. So I scooped them up and I'm going to give them away. I'm probably going to do about 2 or 3 a week for the next few weeks, see how it goes. If you want a sock puppet, hit me up in the comments. We'll see what we can do. First sock puppet goes to my littlest fan. And I know everybody always brags about their biggest fans. I'm bragging about my littlest one, little Evelyn. You'll get a chance to see her later. So little Evelyn gets the first sock puppet because she's the one who's so fond of the puppet shows that she actually stopped throwing her breakfast at the dog one day to watch them. And believe me, if you know anything about babies, you know that when you can get them to stop throwing breakfast at the dog, you're really doing something. So that's our newest giveaway. Now, today what I'd like to cover is the review of the Etsy shops. Those are the ones we took a look at last week, the comments, a few other odd little Etsy things, and I have let's see, some pictures of our pen winners. And this is our last day of the Louis Vuitton handbag giveaway contest. So if you haven't put an entry in, do it on this video, because as of 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, it's done. That's it. And then I'll take a week to process all of the entries, and the following week we'll announce the winner. All right, so let's take a look at our Etsy shop reviews. The first shop was Des Vintage, and that was a European shop, and it's owned by a woman named Cookie. I love that name. She's Cookie. So Cookie specializes in retro clothing and sort of household odds and ends, and her shop is located in Switzerland. And I was especially interested in getting at least one international shop in the reviews, because we know where Etsy is going with their shipping policies. They're asking U.S. shippers to offer free shipping for orders of $35 or more. They're not asking that of their international sellers, which is very good, because when you start buying more than $35 worth of goods from overseas, you're looking at really, really high shipping rates, often much more than $35. So if the international sellers had to do that, oh God, they'd be putting themselves out of business in no time. But my concern is, will they be able to compete? Is it going to be possible for an international seller to remain competitive, knowing that their minimum shipping costs to the U.S. are probably $15, and that's going to be for a small envelope. Can they remain competitive if U.S. sellers are being pressured to offer free shipping? And I don't know how that's going to play out. I have to say my gut feeling is it's not going to bode well for our friends overseas, just because of the economics. If you're going to spend money buying from an Etsy shop and you're going to have the opportunity to get free shipping from a U.S. seller, are you really going to be willing to pay $20, $30, $40 for the same sort of goods from an international seller? And my feeling is no. I'm wondering if Etsy is not trying to put international sellers out of business, because gee, that's what it's feeling like to me. So I want to hear back from you on that. What are your thoughts on this vis-a-vis international sellers? If you are an international seller, want to hear your take on it. If you are a U.S.-based buyer, I want to hear your take on it, because I have to say, I'm going to have to want something really, really badly to pay international shipping if I can get a similar product from the U.S. with no shipping at all. All right. Now, Des Vintage does vintage items, a lot of mid-century stuff, a lot of clothing. And the overall sense from our reviewers, and Cookie, I hope you'll look at their reviews and see what they've said. I know you have already, because she wrote to me. The first thought was that a lot of her prices were high, and she responded immediately. She's put about half of what she has in her shop on sale, so she took that one to heart. I was not concerned about her prices. She has a lot of really nice European items that I just can't get in the United States. And I'm going to do a little bit of Christmas shopping at her store. I found a couple of things that some of my friends who collect mid-century are going to be crazy for. So I think, yeah, I'm willing to deal with the prices, and I'm willing to deal with the shipping. But that was, in fact, just about the only issue people had, that they felt the prices were high. But again, this is a European seller, European pricing, a European market. It's probably going to be more palatable for folks overseas than for American shoppers who are accustomed to getting better bargains. Pluses. She's got a great selection. Like I say, I'm going to do some shopping there myself. She's got mid-century items that I just don't have access to here in the United States. And her shop is full. Boy, I love that. Stuff everywhere. And I struggle to keep stuff in my shop. So when I see somebody's shop that just literally has hundreds of items, it's like, ooh, my eyes bug out. I just get all shop crazy. So that was the take on Cookies. A lot of stuff, a lot of great stuff. A lot of people felt the prices were a little high, but no, I think it is what it is. I think her biggest enemy is not going to be the prices. I think it's going to be the competition with U.S. sellers who are going to be able to offer free shipping. Next up, Secondhand Safari. Some viewers were a little confused about the name. They thought Secondhand Safari meant that it was going to be African items, for example, that they took the name a little too literally, I think, because this was just a store name. And we've talked about this. Your store name is your store name. Doesn't have to mean anything, just has to be catchy. And I actually like the name. I think Secondhand Safari sticks in my mind. One of the biggest concerns that several people repeated, and this is something we've talked about, make sure your primary image, that's the first image, the image in that number one slot, has plenty of background, because Etsy will crop it tightly and you'll end up with a partial image. And that can be confusing for buyers who are looking at something, and Etsy might crop that image so tightly that you can't even tell what it is. You know, you're just seeing roses. It could be roses on a cup. It could be roses on a plate. It could be roses on a party dress. So always remember to leave at least one of your photos with enough background so that when Etsy crops it, you'll see the whole image. And you can go in and edit those images as well. It does not have to be, you know, just a whole bunch of empty space. Just give Etsy enough background so they can crop it down, and then you could go in and tighten the image up a little if you want to. But everybody really liked the shop. It's well presented, and I believe this is the shop that's been around since 2011, and there have been a lot of sales, but for a shop that's been open for 8 years, I wonder if maybe the seller has not been selling consistently for that period of time. And the final shop was Reclaimed Mercantile, and this is a shop that's doing very, very well. So I think this is a shop we can all, you know, look at and, you know, take a page from their book, because they are doing well. They've had a lot of sales in a relatively short period of time. The comments we got from our viewers were, one person had said the categories. Now these are the categories when you separate out your items to little easy to follow categories, that all those categories started off with vintage, which was not necessary. And in fact, that is correct. If all your items are vintage, you don't need to do that in your categories. I do vintage in my titles. That is a carryover from my eBay selling, where you have to put a very good description in the title, because eBay searches by title, not tags. Etsy searches by tags, not so much titles. So I could probably drop vintage from my titles, but boy, those old eBay habits die hard. So that was one issue. What I found interesting was, I thought they were a candle shop because of the banner and because of the little slogan under the shop name about candles, basically. But I couldn't find any candles in the shop. So I was wondering about that. I'm not sure this is actually a candle shop. And of course, if it's not a candle shop, I'm not sure why candles were in the banner and in the little tag under the title. I found that confusing. But keep in mind, they're doing great business, so I'm clearly the only one who is confused by this. They've got a lot of customers. They're making a lot of sales. I just would have liked to have found a candle in there, but that's just me. Now, I just mentioned that little tagline under your shop name. And when you go into your shop manager and you go scroll down, and you'll find a little entry about editing your shop with a little pencil next to it. That's where you can change things like this. I just changed mine. And the reason I just changed mine is when I pulled up all of these shops in browser windows, you know what came up? That tagline, not the shop name. I was surprised by that. I didn't know that would happen. I thought the shop name would come up. Nope. That tagline under the shop name is what comes up. So I changed my tagline, and now my shop says Sue Me Gifts, and right underneath it, it says Sue Me Gifts, vintage gifts for all occasions. Because when that tagline comes up, I want my shop name to come up. I don't want vintage gifts for all occasions. That could be anybody. I want to make sure that when people look at the tab in their browser, they're seeing my shop name. So that's a suggestion I am throwing out to all of you. And there is another thing I do, and you stay right here. I'm going to pause you for a second, and I'm going to go get it and show it to you. Ah, the magic of editing. I wasn't even gone for a second. This is what I do. When I make a sale, I do not put a receipt in the package. I put a card. This card says, Sumi Gifts thanks you for your purchase, so that people know who it came from, but there is no additional information. Not what it is, not who bought it, not the cost, nothing. Now there's a reason for that. As I've said, and you know, what I sell on eBay is dolls. And they're expensive dolls. And sometimes the women who buy these dolls would just as soon not have their husbands or boyfriends or significant others open up those packages and see how much they paid for a doll. Just that simple. And so over the years, I've learned not to throw those receipts in the boxes, because what my buyers want to share with their significant others is up to them. It's not up to me. And if they would just assume that, Joe or Charlie or Mary Lou or whoever they're answering to when it comes to budget day, if they just assume they not know that, somebody in that household dropped a little too much money on an expensive doll, that's their business. So I just make sure they know who it came from, so they know what it is, and the rest is up to them. I do it to respect my buyers' privacy. But I also do it because I know my buyers are not always forthcoming with the people in their lives in terms of how much money they're spending on dolls. And over the years, this is just something that works for me. I would rather not inadvertently disclose someone else's purchases if they don't want it disclosed, and we never know who's opening mail at any given household. So that's my thing. You buy something from me, you get the card. You don't get the receipt, and the boyfriend or the husband or the whatever does not get the receipt. I've also found that when I ship overseas, if I put a receipt in, there can be confusion. Sometimes receipts come out with dollar signs, sometimes they don't. And if I sell a doll for $200 US, and it goes to a European country, and all they see is 200.00, they can infer from that it's 200 euros, which is a lot more money, and consequently the buyer can get stuck with much higher taxes. So I find it best just not to do that, not to leave nasty little trails that can be misinterpreted or that can cause marital strife. I have to be honest with you. That is my big concern. I just don't want to cause difficulties in somebody's marriage because they went off and spent a little too much money on a doll. Hey, there are bigger things to argue about. So that is what I do. And that's one of the things that I wanted to talk about today. The little extra stuff that you can do that will just impress your buyers a little, make you look more professional. In this case, it's a little card. And these cards are printed, oh, that's upside down. Sorry. These cards, I get these cards printed up. I think including the design fee, because I actually had someone else do the layout for this. I didn't have time to tweak it myself. And I believe the layout was $10, and 500 cards were $16. So the total cost for 500 of these, $26, saves me a lot of headaches. Well worth it. Etsy is a selling platform in which the sellers frequently throw in little extras. They pack their things in fancy little bags. They'll throw in cards. I've actually had Etsy sellers send me candy in my packages. But my mother was clever and told me never take candy from strangers, so I never ate the candy. But yeah, I mean, I heard my mother's voice in the back of my head yelling at me. It's like, my God, don't put that in your mouth, you crazy person. All kinds of stuff. Remember the Gothic steampunk lamp conversion, where we took the steampunk lamp, we turned it into a goth lamp, bought the spider, and the seller gave me that cute little extra spider that I really wanted to keep and turn into a brooch, but I left it on the lamp anyway. Ooh, that still bothers me. I'm still tempted to just snip that off and turn that spider into a brooch. A lot of sellers do that. They'll throw in little extra goodies. They do this all the time. So Etsy is a platform where the little extras are almost expected, or if not expected, at least very commonplace. So I would say, think about it, especially if you're going to do a lot of selling. Cards can come in very, very handy. If somebody asks you what your shop is, you hand them a card. I carry cards around with me for Cogsworth years because people have stopped me to ask about my jewelry. And Douglas sent me cards. I actually asked him to send me cards because I was tired of having to write it down. So I give out the cards. Somebody compliments the necklace, it's like, here you go, this is where you can buy it. So that's something to think about. But we got two things now. Remember, change that little header underneath your shop name, the one that has your little descriptor in it. Make sure you put your shop name in that too, because when somebody pulls you up, you want to be in that browser window. You don't want them wondering who, special gifts or vintage fabrics or whatever. You want your name right there. So stick that name in. Cards, think about it. It works for me. It's quick, it's easy, it's relatively inexpensive, and I don't have to worry about printing out receipts or making sure I shove the correct receipt in the correct box. Everybody gets a card, makes my life very easy. Next, we have some pictures from pen winners. I have a photo of the newest set of flatware that Lisa has made. This one is going into her shop, by the way, so this is going to be for sale. So those of you who took an interest in the flatware, take a look at this. Okay, that's Lisa's newest bit of flatware. That's going to show up in her shop. Now, pens. We have, remember Jean's junk, and she got a pen for her best friend who gave her husband a kidney. Well, here's the best friend, here's the husband, presumably the kidney's somewhere in that picture, but the pen is in there. Okay, that was a good one. And here is a picture of my littlest fan, the one I was bragging about. This is little Evelyn. And Evelyn is a big fan of the puppet shows. And Evelyn is the one we are keeping our language clean for. So if you want to attach a face to the policy, here it is. Now, you wouldn't want to have that poor little one go dragging off to some gun for hire website or exposed to inappropriate language or whatever. So that's why we're keeping it clean for little Evie. Okay, now, finally, I wasn't at all sure this video was going to get made today because I had a very rough day. We had a storm last night, and I woke up this morning to find that one of my 200-year-old oak trees had crashed into my schoolhouse. So let me show you some pictures. So that's what's going on at my house this week. I don't know anything yet, except of course that there's a disaster in the backyard and a large chunk of the schoolhouse has been effectively destroyed. I'll keep you posted as I know, but I was pretty sure that was going to negate this video, but we got it out anyway. You know why? Because dealing with videos for you folks is one of the great joys of my life. And I really needed some cheering up today, and this is what's done it for me. So thanks for always being there for me. All right, remember, giveaway, handbag. This is your last day, 24 hours. Get your entry in. Pens, as usual, still going out. 6 pens went out this week. We're just going to keep sending out pens as long as we got people looking for them. So if you want pens, let me know. And starting next week, we're going to be dealing with sock puppets too. All right, I will see you folks tomorrow. Have a great day.